Hallelujah, the sun finally came out. So I'm taking advantage of it and shooting just a few days earlier than I normally would, if for no other reason than I have just been missing the sunlight and being outside and everything, right? So today we are going to take that stuff we learned last week about how to keep our crossed arm planes stable. And now we're going to figure out how to turn back and forth between the two sides of it so that we can get closer to getting our crossers down, yeah? Drex here from DrexFactor.com, teaching you flow arts and poi spinning to benefit your body and brain during the COVID-19 quarantine. And today, we are getting one step closer to our mission of getting down crossers. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Flow Toys, Pyroterra Light Toys, LMF Props, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can learn more about all these awesome companies and the work that they're doing to support flow artists like yourself by checking out the links that I've got down in the description of this video. Cool, so when last we joined our intrepid adventurers, they had learned how to keep their poi planes stable as they go in split time, same direction, their arms crossed forwards, as well as when they have their arms crossed going reverse. And we were very, very careful to make sure that the forward side was off to our right and the reverse side was off to our left. And today we're going to find out the reason why. Because today we get a second major component of these crossers. Namely, we learn how to turn back and forth between them. It's almost exactly the same thing as a watermill, just with your arms crossed instead, right? So we're... Gross. I cannot believe that just happened. A bird just pooped on my hand. All right, so our first step here is that I'm going to get my arms crossed, spinning forwards over to my right-hand side here, and I'm going to start working on figuring out how to make this turn happen. I'm looking for the moment when my right-hand poi, that's the one on the left side of my body because our arms are crossed and life is confusing, looking for that moment when it goes past my ankles here, because that is my window to be able to turn my entire body around. So I actually kind of want to see it coming just a minute or two early, or I guess like a half a second early. So I'm going to start thinking that it starts about that moment when the poi is pointed far away from me. When that happens, I'm going to begin the process of turning my entire upper body over to the left-hand side. Now you note, I'm basically going back and forth between places where I have the poi on either side of my body, when the poi go forwards, as well as when the poi go reverse, yeah? Think of it as being that as you're going through this turn and everything, you're looking to have a moment where the poi switch into wall plane for just 1 second as you're going from forwards to reverse. But otherwise, those planes are going to stay distinct and they're going to stay on each side of your body. There's a really common thing that happens when people start working on this turn, wherein they'll kind of get stuck about halfway through, and the poi head that is leading the way won't get all the way over to the other side of their body, in which case the only option is that the poi get tangled, and we don't want that. So one trick that I have for this is I'll actually have my head kind of follow that poi around, and as it goes off to my left-hand side, I'm almost going to be like a pointer, like a dog going, ah, over there, right? That my entire body is going to follow it over to that reverse side. And also bear in mind that you are going to arrive on that reverse side, so make sure that you're stable on your reverse side and able to keep this going once you arrive there, yeah? What on earth is your left hand doing? I'm so glad that you asked, because normally when I walk people through this move, I just say that the left hand kind of takes care of itself, but clearly for some folks that is not actually going to be the case. I would say that the way you ought to think about this is that when you start this movement following your right hand around, your left hand should be pointed out away from you during the middle of the turn. Like the middle of the turn should be like right here-ish, where the two poi are pointed out to either side and your body's kind of sandwiched between them and everything, right? As you're coming around, you want your left hand to follow through and go past your feet on that last moment. You can actually just imagine breaking this out hand by hand if you wanted to. So like start off with just the right hand crossed over and everything, and turn from one side to the other and make sure that you're arriving in that place where your poi plane is still kind of in wheel plane next to you, right? And the same thing with your left hand. work in a place where you have your arms crossed and turn with it. It should kind of like follow your body as you turn, so think that you're going to kind of initiate the turn from like your head or your core and everything, and that it's going to pull the poi behind it as you're going from right to left side. Again, it's one of those things that you want to be midway through the turn with the poi straight out, and it comes past your feet as you complete the turn, yeah? Okay, so now let's do the same thing going from reverse to forwards. I'm going to go ahead and get my arms crossed over on my reverse side right here, and now I'm going to go ahead and check out my left hand as it's coming up and over. This is going to be a moment that I'm going to once again follow it over and around to my right hand side. Again, it might help to practice this with only one hand at a time. So cross up those arms and get the left hand spinning reverse. Make sure that you're hugging your arms really closely to your chest as you're doing this, because the more you let them out and everything, the more you're kind of cheating it and the more difficult it's actually going to be to make all these pieces fit together when you're finally done with them. So as that left hand is going reverse and everything, as it goes up and over, you want your entire body to follow it around. You almost want to imagine that you're like tossing it over your right hand shoulder and turning all the way to see the follow through on it. Make sure you are going from a place where it is going past your right shoulder and landing right next to your right hip. Yeah? And by the same token, you can practice with just your right hand, which is now going to be the hand that is following. And as that poi head is coming up and around, up and around, up and around, you almost want to pull away from it as it is pointing out away from you. Yeah? You pull it around and let it drop down past your left hip. So think that as it's going down past your ankle, you're going to turn away from it and let it swing around to land next to your left hip and ankle, yeah? Cool, so now we do the two hands together. Make sure your arms are crossed and follow that left hand poi around, and you should wind up once again in that place where you have the two poi spinning forwards in wheel plane at your sides. Let me show you what that looks like coming down the middle and everything, right? So as I'm spinning my poi reverse, I follow my left hand around to forwards. And of course, going back the other way, I follow my right hand around to reverse. Cool, so now the work that you have to do is to be able to turn back and forth between forwards and reverse a total of 5 times. 5 times to the reverse, 5 times to the forwards. I would say that I would really love it if you could get in 5 reps with your arms crossed on each side. So think 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and turn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and turn, and that'll be a single rep, yeah? I want you to get super duper comfortable not only with being able to have control over how many reps you're doing on each side, but also being able to do the turn back and forth between them. If you're finding that you're running into problems turning from like the reverse side to the forward side or from the forward side to the reverse side, concentrate on getting that down. Like if one of these feels easier than the other, concentrate on the one that doesn't feel as easy and see if you can break through those barriers, yeah? Awesome, so hopefully these get to feel comfortable sooner rather than later, because next week we are going to work on doing a superset, working our way down to only doing 1 rep on each side and turning straight back and forth between them. Your work this week is just to be able to get those turns down in each direction, and next week we will work on making sure that you can just go straight back and forth between them. I'll go ahead and give you some slow motion footage of both of those from this perspective too. bear in mind, if you run into any problems with this and everything, you could always post video to Instagram, say to your stories, and tag me. I am DrexFactor on there, and I should be able to give you an answer in terms of whatever trouble you're running into. It's a lot easier for me to be able to say what's going wrong if I can see what's happening for you on video. And of course, if you would like to dive in and learn more Poi stuff that I will not be covering in this series, including things like behind the back tricks and giants and everything, you can always check out my Beyond the Basics course, which I have posted on my learning site at learn.drexfactor.com. You can get that course for half off during the quarantine using the code COVID-19. And yeah, if you have signed up for my courses already, you will find the same level of quality as well as a whole host of tutorials that have never been posted online. Please help me get the word out about these tutorials. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and give your flow curious friends a heads up that they exist and they can use them to get into the flow world, so we can add more flow-mies to it during all this, yeah? And of course, if you are enjoying these videos and getting anything out of them, I would love it if you would sign up to support this work over on Patreon, like all these nice folks did. Patreon is what is keeping me afloat during the quarantine, and it is something that I am unbelievably grateful for right now, because it means that I am not super stressed out about making rent or feeding myself or anything like that, which is kind of awesome given all the other craziness in the world and everything right now. So if you have the means to support this project, and I totally understand if you don't, but if you do, please head on over to patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi and sign up. You'll get early access to all of my content, as well as a say in what topics I tackle in the future, plus some great behind the scenes stuff and the ability to get your name in the credits and everything. So go and check that out. Please and thank you. Cool, so tomorrow we are picking back up with our exploration of anti-spin flowers, and I'm going to teach you how to do them in together saying with both hands at the same time. Yeah? Awesome. I will see you then. Peace.